we go with the tip of the week for this week, and what we're going to be talking about and discussing. And we've got a great panel. Is we're going to be talking about door knocking. All right, and then this week, and this will be posted up. Like I said, we're recording this, so it will be posted onto the Senior Solutions website. So give it a couple of days, and then you can go check it out. With that, just one of the key points, if you're going to go out door knocking, I know we talked about this before. We talked about door tags, but you're wasting your time if you're door knocking and you don't have these door tags, the delivery notices. They work like a charm. We just a new agent that just came on with us is working B leads down in Indiana. She went out and did a bunch of door knocks, left door tags, and booked like I know she got like 3 or 4 callbacks, booked 2 or 3 appointments, like right out of the gate. So trust me, they absolutely unequivocally do work. You absolutely will need these. It's only $2.50 for a pack of 50. So call my office, call me personally, order a couple hundred, and I'll get them out in the mail to you ASAP. With that, Jimmy, who is this skinny dude?
I don't know. I don't recognize them.
Man, I don't either, dude. Tell me. All right, so tell me what's up with this picture, man. Give, what's going
That
on? What's the vest, man? Are you doing road construction? You got like a side job or something?
that is my safety vest, and when I'm out door knocking, that is what I wear. Um, and I'll tell you, I discovered this um right before coming on to Senior Solutions. I was well, actually, I just came on to Senior Solutions, and I was broke. I didn't have any money, and I needed to buy some leads. And Joe says, well, you got to figure it out, So my solution was I needed to go knock on some doors and do some tree trimming, something I have experience in. And nobody was answering the door. And one of my friends said, Jimmy, why don't you put on a vest, a safety vest, and that way they don't think you're a salesperson or a religious person, and you'll probably have more people open the door. So I did that. Sure enough, everybody was opening the door. I started trimming trees, and I made my money to buy leads. Well, when I was running into the same problem, door knocking my leads, I said, well, you know what? Let me put that vest on. So I put on the vest. Sure enough, if they're home and they see you, they're going to open the door. So that's the vest that I wear. And I tell you what, I have a really high percentage of people that open doors. So
Awesome.
anyway, and
Tell us,
those badge. Yeah, I know. So that's
what,
the back badge. And what it is, I got that off of Amazon. It's like a little, like a wallet kind of in the back. There's like 2 slots where you can put your business cards. The front of that is my actual ID. But I wear that around my neck. I go up to the door with the ID badge showing, and then I introduce myself, give them my card. But yeah, that's the way I do it.
and I see you got business cards right there, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Awesome. So, Jimmy, you want to move right in? I know we put some slides together. We want to move right into planning your route and using Road Warrior.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Can I
Awesome.
start with the success story? Maybe about 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The door knock stories. That's why I wanted to tell it. So this is really, really fresh. So I'm gonna say about a month ago, I was out door knocking, and I came on this one person's house, and she answered the door, and she told me it was a really bad time. She said, my son just died 2 days ago. She was a mess. She was all emotional, could hardly talk. She was, crying a lot, and I certainly understood. She says, I need to get through this. We need to plan his memorial service. Um, you know, I told her I was sorry to hear about her son. She says, I do want to talk to you about the life insurance, especially now. He didn't have anything, and we're having to figure out how we're going to do this. I want to talk to you, but it's going to be a couple of weeks. I said, sure, sure. I gave her my card. Um, I called her about 2 weeks later because she didn't call me, which is typical, right? Most people say they're going to call you and they don't. So I called her asked her, how she was doing. She was still super emotional. They had just had his memorial service, and she said she wasn't ready yet. She said she'll call me. She promised me she'll call me by the end of the week. I said, okay, great. She kept her promise. She called me. And when she called me, Joe, you know what she said? She says, Jimmy, I noticed on the card you have Mutual of Omaha as one of your carriers. And I saw an ad on TV for Mutual of Omaha. So I called them and I already got covered. I'm already signed up, right? How many times do you hear that in the field? Like, I already have something in place. You
Right.
know, I already have Mutual of Omaha. I hear that a lot, right? I don't let that phase me. You can't just like suck it up and say, oh man, I lost one, or be all mad, right? So I congratulated her. I said, man, you picked a really good company. They're outstanding. In fact, I have a policy with them. I said, do me a favor. They are one of my carriers. When you get your policies, because she told me she bought two, I want you to call me. I'll go out there. I'll do a free review with you. I just want to make sure that it's everything that you think it is, because there's a lot of different types of policies. And I told her, one of the types of policies that they offer is that there's a 2-year waiting period. She goes, oh no, they didn't say nothing about that. I don't want nothing waiting period. I said, well, that's why I want to check, because they offer both. It depends on your health, but let me just review it. She says, okay. So a couple of weeks go by. She finally called me on Monday, says, look, I just got my policies in the mail. We set up an appointment. I went back out there yesterday, and it turned out that what they sold her was a term life policy for 50,000, and she's currently 67. When she turns 80 in 13 years, the policy expires. She's no longer covered. They gave her a high face amount, 50,000. I think her premium was like 86 bucks. She was really happy with that. And then they sold her a separate accidental death policy for like $9 a month. Um, and it was like a 3-tier accidental. But anyway, so I reviewed the policies. I commended her on the accidental, explained it to her. She didn't understand the 3 tiers. Then when I got to the term life, I said, now look, Mutual of Omaha is a great company, and you got a really good deal on this. You got 86 bucks a month for 50,000. That's outstanding. I said, but you do have a weakness. Now, here's the thing. If you were to die in the next 13 years, by all means, they're going to write a check to your beneficiary for $50,000. I go, but here's the thing. It expires in 13 years. So if you outlive it, you don't have any more insurance, and all the money spent is going to be wasted. You don't get any of it back. There's no cash value in this policy. I said, now good luck getting insurance at age 80, plus your health might be different at that time. She didn't like that. She goes, they didn't explain any of that to me. So to make a long story short, I go into my presentation. Um, I went ahead and wrote her up for a 30,000 whole life policy with immediate coverage preferred through Transamerica. And the premium on that was a beautiful $132.50 a month. And that was the maximum amount of coverage that she could get. That's what she wanted, because she owes about 15,000 in taxes on her house. She worked out a deal with the county where she doesn't have to pay her taxes, but whenever she dies, and her beneficiary that receives the house will have to pay them. So she wanted enough to cover the taxes, and then have some to pay for her services. She already has a plot paid for and stuff like that. So anyway, it worked out really great. She was really happy. She said that she felt that the Lord sent me to her house to knock on the door that day, and then also to follow up with her, because she had gotten the wrong policy.
Yep.
So, all that, there's a lot of like little nuggets in that story. I mean, but it starts with knocking on the door, and that is the main thing. So, with that, I'll go right into the door knocking presentation. One of my agents, I really like this guy. His name is Mike Clanton. He is a veteran agent. He's been doing final expense for 20 years. And he's like one of those guys you just talk to, and you always get some kind of nugget, some kind of value out of him. You know, sometimes I'm able to help him out with the tip, but sometimes he helps me out with the tip. And Mike, I want to start off with what he said the other day. He says, you know, Jimmy, when it comes to door knocking, there is no magic script. Everybody's always looking for the perfect script to say at the door. He goes, you know, the only thing magical is actually getting out there and knocking on the doors. That's the only thing magical. And I think that is so true. So I just wanted to commend Mike for that and do a shout out. But what I'd like to do is get started with you know, how to organize your route. And we'll start with what I use is Road Warrior. Now, guys, I've used other tools before. I've used MapQuest. I've used Google My Maps. I've used trying to think of who else I used. I used a third one, and I was really hooked on the My Maps, but this is even better. And I use Road Warrior, and Richard Luna turned me on to this. And guys, it makes your life so much easier. And so let's pull it up, Joe, if you want to go straight to it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, here's the, all right, guys, we're going to introduce Road Warrior, Crush Your Route. By the way, there's a lot of FedEx drivers that use Road Warrior as well. That's how good it is.
Wow. Okay, cool. So
here's the first screen, buddy.
okay, so this is just give you an example. So with Road Warrior, this is a mobile app that you download to your phone. It doesn't matter if you have a iPhone or Android. You can download the app, and once you have the app on your phone, you can see there that I have 17 routes, and I name my routes, you know, with various names. You know, sometimes I just name the route by zip code. Sometimes I might put A lead or B lead or a city, but so I can identify, you know, what I'm doing with that route. So this picture on the right kind of shows you the little pins, and that's here in San Antonio. And this was a route I was working on yesterday. The little blue circle up there with the green around it, that's your current location. Okay, so this is what I love about Road Warrior, is that maybe my current location, you know, changes. Maybe I have an appointment down there, let's say by number 8, where it says that's supposed to be Lackland Air Force Base. Maybe I'm down there by Lackland on an appointment. I can go ahead and pull up either the map view and see what area I'm in and go ahead and door knock while I'm in that area, or I can hit optimize and it'll reroute me based on my current location. So you don't have to keep figuring it out manually. It does it for you. So let's go on to the next slide, Joe.
That's amazing.
So once you have your items plugged in, the last view was what they call a map view. This is what they call a list view. And so this shows you by number. You can go in and you can say, okay, look, there's George, there's his address, there's Daniel. You know, that's the order that you're going to go into. And then on the right there, you can access any of these, and you can make it your first. You can make it your final stop. You can check in. What I love about this is, like, let's say I go to the first house, I go to George, I get there, I knock on that door. When I'm done, I can hit the check in, and what it does is it grays out his house, and then but it doesn't delete it. Okay, and the reason why that's important is because maybe he wasn't home and I had to tag the door and I need to go back. Well, then I can go back in later and restore that. But on my current list, I want to get through what I have, so I'll just hit check in. On navigate, so if I pull up George and I hit navigate, then it's gonna navigate me. Now it uses, when you set it up, it asks you based on what apps you already have on your phone. Like, for example, I have Google Maps, I have Apple Maps, and I have Waze. So it asks me, who do I want to use? Which navigation tool do I want to use? And you just pick it, and then it'll navigate using that that other third party. So it makes it really easy. Uh, the first and final, let's say, for example, I have an appointment that is somewhere in the middle of this list, and that appointment might be like near number 15, right? I'm going to go to that appointment at 9 o'clock. Immediately after that, I'm going to start door knocking. So I might say, okay, well, I'm going to mark number 15 first, and I want to go to, let's say, number 26, and then I'm going to mark that, my last destination, and I'll hit, optimize, and it's going to optimize my route. It makes it real simple. When I'm out of town, I usually mark my final. I put my hotel wherever I'm staying at, and I make that the final stop. And so it routes it, where I want to start, and I'm going to end up at the hotel, and I work all the way in between. So anyway, that's the way that works. Go ahead and go to the next one, Joe.
Yep.
Okay. And then so like this is just basically a close up on um, a lead that I did check in, and now it was grayed out. And so I can go back in and I can hit restore, or I can just simply hit navigate. I don't have to restore it. I can hit navigate, and I can also delete it. So like, let's say I did talk to Joe, maybe I sat down with him, I got a presentation, or, whatever the case is, but I know I don't need to go back out there. I can just delete it and it'll remove it from the route. To the right, that's just a kind of a view of the different routes that I have. So you can see there, the first one, it says Route 2018 525. So that was, earlier in the week. That was what route I was working that day. I got Houston red, yellow, overflow. I got pink. Sometimes I have a map, a geographical. If I have a whole bunch of leads, I will get a zip code map, and I will route it. I will figure out where all my leads are, and I highlight them, and I mark each section by a color. So I got like yellow, red, pink, I got blue, green. So that's for my knowledge what area of town I'm going to work. And then those other ones are zip codes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can see, like sometimes I have like down there it says Houston A leads. So I want to work my A leads first. I don't want to necessarily take a long time getting to them. So I will put all my A leads together, even though they may be spread out over several zip codes. But I'm going to mark those separate and go work those first, and then I'll go back and work them in the areas. But that's just how I do that. All right, Joe, let's go to the next slide.
All right, this is your Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, sir. So what I did, and this is what I like about Road Warrior, is this is a template on Excel, and it has to be exactly this format for it to work. So, you have the name, which they combine the first and last name in one cell, so you don't put them separate. Then you got this, the street, the city, the state, the zip, the country. You have to put the country, so it's just US. The color you leave blank. Phone, you can put the phone number, you can put notes, and then the latitude, longitude, and service, just leave that blank, but you have to have those headers for it to upload. So if anybody wants a copy of this template, I'll be glad to email it to you. I've already created it, but this makes it real easy. So once you get your leads, all you got to do is type them in. And like, let's say if you're on 20 a week, for example, it doesn't take long to type in 20. Now, just to let you know, you can do a export out of opt where the leads are dropped into, and you can export it into an Excel file. The only problem is it does not match this template. So once you export it into that other file, then you can go in and copy and paste into this template and maybe speed up the process. So you do have that option. But for me, I think I do it just as fast as doing it, typing it in manually. But once I do it on this spreadsheet, then I go to the actual Road Warrior website. So Joe, if you can go on to that. It is. So that's the Road Warrior website. That says the upload tool. All you do is you click browse. You find it on your documents wherever you have it saved, and then see how it says route name optional. Type in your route name. That's how I get it. You know, my different names. Um, and then the next slide, Joe, here, because there's 3 steps. Maybe I sent you the wrong one. Is there one more slide after that or no? Or was that the last one?
That's the last one.
Okay, so don't worry about it. So the third one is just you just select, is this a new route or you're adding to an existing route? So, you know, however you want to do it. I always put new route, and then it automatically will sync to your phone. It's a beautiful thing. It tells you to manually sync, but I've never had to actually manually sync. When I go to my phone, it's already there. Um, and that's how you do it. Guys, this will save you a ton of time.
Jimmy, let me ask you a question. If they want to get more information, I know like they could Google it, and there's probably on YouTube there's some additional tutorials, right? That people could get information on how to use maximize Road Warrior.
Probably, Joe. You know, it was really simple to figure out on my own, but there
Okay.
probably are tutorials. I'll tell you this. I mean, it's not a free service. I think it's like $4.99 a month. Guys, it's worth $5 to save all
Way
that
worth it,
time.
dude. Way worth it,
Yeah.
man. Way worth it.
And pay for commercials or ads or any of that crap.
Right. And even if they don't want to do like the Excel spreadsheet, they can still type in, you can do it all mobile and just type in the addresses on your phone. It just a little bit, I think it's easier to do it on the Excel spreadsheet. Um,
It it
typing
is. And Joe, if you can go back to the Excel spreadsheet for a second,
yeah.
if you guys use an appointment setter, so to me this is kind of like a dual thing. I enter all the information here, and by the way, I put the phone number too, and on Road Warrior it actually has their phone number on the list, and all I have to do is tap the phone and it'll call that person. So maybe I'm at their door and they're not answering, but there's cars there. I can just tap on it and it'll actually ring the phone. Or you can tap on text message and it'll text them. So it's cool to go ahead and put the phone number in there. But once I use this spreadsheet, Joe, I go ahead and copy the information, and I use another thing called Google Sheets, which is similar to Excel, and I copy it into Google Sheets, and that's what I use with my appointment setter. So my appointment setter can go in and call all of my clients. They can make notes. They have the phone number. When I do that into the Google Sheets where it says color, I put in the color of the lead card so they can say, yeah, it was a green card or pink card. So it's kind of like a dual purpose. So it just speeds up the process, makes everything really efficient. So
Awesome. Awesome. Man, that's great information. Guys, if you want more information on Road Warrior, get in touch with us. Jimmy and Richard are the Road Warrior experts. We can refer you to them.
hey Joe, Richard wants to be unmuted. He wants to add something about Road Warrior.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had it. Sure thing. Sorry about that, Richard. I wasn't looking at the. I see now you have a question, your hand up. All right, Richard, you're unmuted, but you're self-muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, hear you great.
Hey, thanks, guys. I just want to add one more thing, Joe. If you could go back to the slide that shows where you upload the Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, this one right here?
Yes. So what you could do is, I know Jimmy explained about putting it into an Excel spreadsheet. The way I typically do it to avoid having to add any additional Excel spreadsheets or anything like that, if you click on Upload Web Form on the top right.
Right here?
Let me see.
where it says upload?
Upload web form. It's not highlighted.
Oh,
No.
on the
If you go underneath where it says upload tool.
on the left.
Oh, on the left.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you see right there? So upload web form. If you click on there, it actually allows you to manually input the address, the name, phone number, things like that. So everything that Jimmy had on the Excel spreadsheet, you could actually put it online, and just like Jimmy said, it uploads it to your mobile app and everything. That's the way I typically do it. I don't do an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. So let's say you don't want to do it, or you don't really want to do an Excel spreadsheet. You just hit upload web form, and it pops up, and you can type everything in.
Yes, sir.
Brilliant. Awesome. Okay.
So just wanted to add that.
Okay. All right. Awesome. That was a great tip. All right. So let's do this, Richard. I'm going to keep you unmuted. Guys, let's go ahead and we're going to get into the that was planning your route, utilizing that. We're going to start giving you some tips. Got some great speakers that are going to come on. But what we're going to cover now is we're going to be talking about the final expense door knock script, and we're going to give you some tips on how to approach the door. But guys, here's the script that I use. I know Jimmy uses one that's very similar. We'll get Richard to share. We'll get a bunch of people, different people, to share their scripts. But it goes back to what Jimmy was saying. There's no magic in the script. Okay, the magic is in showing up and actually doing the work. Now, I can tell you this: there are scripts that you should not use. Your script should be short and sweet and to the point. So here's the one that I typically use, or something very similar to that. When I pull up to the house, I go to the door, and typically when I'm going up to the door, I don't go up with anything other than just the lead, or I may have the lead in a clipboard, but I don't have a satchel. I don't have my portfolio or anything like that. And it's simply I knock on the door, the customer comes out, and here it is. Hi, Mrs. Jones. My name is Joe Johnson. I'm the agent that oversees your area, and I'm here today because you recently sent us this card in the mail, and you've been pre-qualified for these benefits. I'm here to ensure that we complete the enrollment process. May I come in? That's the entire script. Nothing more, nothing less. And typically they'll look at it, and while I'm doing that, I'm handing them the card, so they're seeing it, and it's a very, very high success rate. Most people are going to say, well, yeah, sure, come on in. Or they may say, well, what's this about? And then I'll handle the rebuttal and I'll get in. Here's one thing about this call today. This is actually going to be a two-part segment. So today we're going to be talking about the script and different techniques on how to approach. And then tune in next week because we're going to be covering door knock objections. Okay. Now, Jimmy, you were telling me when we were talking the other day that Mike he's actually simplified it and has a much shorter script than even this one. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's super short.
Go ahead and give it to us.
Mike says, hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Mike Clanton. You mailed in this card a while back. Do you have a few moments? May I come in? That's all he says.
Brilliant. But here's the thing, guys. Less is more. Anytime that I get phone calls, anytime that I'm like an agent's calling me and saying, I'm having trouble getting in the door, and I start to, what I find out is that they've got this long thing that they're saying, and they end up having like 5 or 10 minute conversations with people on their doorstep, and they never get in. It's got to be short. It's got to be sweet. You got to get straight to the point. And then Richard, can we have, if you're available, if you could unmute, can you kind of give us your version of what it is that you say at the door?
Yeah, definitely. I say something similar. Sometimes I change it up just depending on like the kind of feeling I get from the clients. You know, every client gives you like
Sure.
a different feeling. But I say something similar. Say, hey, Mr. Jones, my name's Richard. The reason I was here is that we received this card that you filled out recently and mailed back to us, requesting more information about the 2018 benefit update for Texas citizens to help pay final expenses. Now, you've already been pre-qualified. I'm just here to explain the benefits and to help with the enrollment process. You know, may I come in? And I vary that just depending on like the feeling that I'm getting from the client.
Right, but you know what? It doesn't sound. The point is that you like. It doesn't sound salesy. It's just very as a matter of factly. Like,
Correct.
and the agents that have trouble getting in the doors are the ones that are trying to like sell at the door. You know, like, oh, this is to cover your final expenses. This is life insurance to cover your final expenses, and it's a great program. I don't even know what they say, but they screw it up. And
You know, one thing that I could say, Joe, sorry.
Sure.
You broke up, Richard.
Oh,
Richard,
sorry. Yeah, I'm there. Sorry. One thing I want to add is like it's very easy. A way to like not sound very salesy is to just like do what Joe always says, preaches, and what Jimmy says is just slow down. When you're talking really fast, you know, it's like you're trying to sell the client, and you can come across as a salesperson. You're trying to maybe confuse them and give them whole lot of information in such little time that they don't have a time to think. So just take a step back and just slow down and say what you need to say.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So the tip is on the script is use this script or use one that's similar to it. But the theory of less is more will definitely work into your benefit. The other thing that we want to talk about before we get on our guest speakers is just kind of the approach to the door. So, one of the things that I recommend is what I do is if I'm door knocking and the driveway is available, guys, I typically will just pull into the driveway. I'll pull into the driveway and I will get out of my car very, very quickly. So one thing that if you are door knocking, you want to make sure you have that lead out, that you are ready to get out of your car very, very quickly. So when I pull up to a house, I'm getting out of the car very, very quickly. I'm typically leaving the door open. As I'm walking to the door, I will give it a wave and a smile in case someone is inside and sees that. But I want to look like I'm in a hurry. The one thing you can't do is you can't stop in someone's driveway or park in front of the house and sit there for 2 minutes before you get out. That looks funny. So and then your approach to the door, it should be a brisk, fast walk to the door and do the wave, and then also always knock on the door and ring the doorbell. I mean, I typically do both. I will ring the doorbell and I will also knock pretty hard, 4 or 5 times, and then you want to step back away from the door, give that person room. Sometimes if there's a porch there or a stoop, I mean, I'll get all the way off of it. So sometimes I could be 4 or 5 feet away from the door. So when they open it, you're not in their space. They're more likely to open if you're standing back. They're more likely to open the door all the way and to ask, "Can I help you?" Then you can approach. If you're sitting there on the stoop, what will happen, especially if they have a storm door, you're more likely to get the person that will open the door. They'll kind of peek their head around, and then next thing you know, you're having a conversation in between a glass door or a screen door, which you don't want to have. So use that technique of stepping back a little bit. People are more likely, the further back you are, the more likely they are to open up the door all the way. Then you can simply approach, and I usually will, have my name badge out. So sometimes I will kind of like hold it in my hand, and I will hand them the card, and then I will do the script, and then get in. Now, my approach is that my philosophy is that if I'm door knocking, if I have time, I'm going for the presentation right then and there. Now, other people have the approach that they're going in to set an appointment for the next day or later that day. Guys, that's really going to depend upon you. Depend upon your schedule. I'm from the philosophy is that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So I'm there. They're there. I'm going for it. And that's one of the beauty of door knocking is that if they're there and you're there, it's impossible for them to no show you because both parties are already there. You book an appointment for down the for the next day or 2 days later. There's a possibility they may not be home. You got to go through the whole process again. Do you guys have any feedback or anything you'd like to add in regards to that, or what your what your approach is, or how you approach the door, or what you take to the door?
Go ahead, Richard.
Well, I just take when I do approach the door, I do the same thing and just wave and smile. And then also what I take is just my clipboard and the lead. So that's really all I take. Now I grew up in East LA, so I grew up a little bit different. So I don't leave my car running with the door open. I still close the door and stuff, but I just go with very little things. And also one thing that I wanted to add is when you do knock, if there's a peephole, also smile, or even if there's not a peephole, also smile and wave. Just assume that somebody's actually looking at you through the other side of that door.
Awesome. Jimmy, how about you?
One thing I want to say, like, normally I like going with only the lead in my hand, but sometimes we work rough areas, and I think everybody would agree with that. If I'm in a rough area, I usually take my clipboard only because sometimes there's dogs. I had a dog last week, it was a little chihuahua, a little sucker tried to bite my ankle. I slapped that sucker with my clipboard. That dog me. But so I use my clipboard for that. Also, if I'm approaching a house that has a fence in the front yard and maybe the gate, is closed, but there's not a lock on it or anything, I will use my clipboard and I'll bang on that gate a couple of times, because if they do have a dog on the side of the house, under the porch, something like that, it'll come out. And I just want to, be aware of my surroundings. But I want to say one other thing is sometimes I am like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday evening, I had a 6 o'clock appointment, actually a 5:30 appointment, and the lady wasn't home. So I called her and she goes, "Oh my goodness, I forgot all about it. I'm over here at the grocery store. I'm almost done." And I said, "Well, I tell you what, there's a couple more people I need to see in your area. Why don't I go introduce myself to them and I'll come back in about 30 minutes. Will that give you enough time?" She says, yeah, that'll give me enough time. Okay, so that's exactly what I did. I got Road Warrior out. I went to the map view. There was 3 people and all in the same neighborhood, right? So when I went to the other houses, I didn't have the time to actually sit with her. I knew she was coming back, right? So in that scenario, when I'm between appointments, I just simply knock on the door and I say, "Hi, Mr. Jones, this is Jimmy Hernandez. I'm with Senior Solutions. I wanted to stop by and introduce myself to you." I hand them my card. I hand them the lead, and I'll say, "We've been trying to reach you. You had requested this information. I'm on the way to another appointment. I don't have time to talk to you right now. But as I said, I just wanted to really introduce myself and see if maybe we can get together either later today or tomorrow. And then I'll go for the appointment." So that's my other approach.
That's perfect. Okay. Anything else? Any other tips before I bring Tony Riley on?
No, I want to hear from Tony. Let's bring him on.
All right, man. Let's get the guy on. Let's see here. Let's see. Tony, you are unmuted now. If you unmute yourself.
I'm here, Joe.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Jimmy?
Good. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone out there.
Good morning, Tony. All right, man. The door knock master, brother. So lay some knowledge on us, man. Tell us some of your strategies and tips, and maybe what you do at the door, and some educate us.
Absolutely. Well, I would say my technique's a little different than Joe's. Um, I do the main thing you want to do is you want to keep it simple. The old KISS technique, keep it simple, stupid, right? You don't want to go up there and be standing at the door for 5 minutes, trying to sell the lead at the door. It's just not going to work. The shorter, the better. So the main thing is when you pull up, if there's cars in the driveway, I will try to park in the driveway so as to block them in. And if I can't get in the driveway, then I'll park in front of the house. And Joe is correct. You don't want to spend 5 minutes in the car trying to get your leads together to get out of the car, or the next thing will happen is an officer will be pecking on your window asking you why you're standing in front of their house. So you just pull up to the house. I don't leave my door open. It depends on the neighborhood. That is something I used to do because you want to look like you're in a hurry and you're very busy. So I just pull up to the house. I get out of the car. I do my wave going to the door. And when I get to the door, I have not just the one lead. I have 2 stacks. Okay. The main thing is when I have 2 stacks of leads, probably 100 leads. Okay. Theirs is on top. So when they answer the door, the first thing I do is I take my copy of leads out. I get out of the car, I do the wave as I'm walking to the door. I knock and I have, the badge ready. You want to look very professional, and you want to say when they come to the door, say, "Hi, Mrs. Jones. My name's Tony. I'm a state field underwriter, and I'm in charge of underwriting this area of Kentucky. You recently mailed in this card." When you say that, you hand them the whole stack of cards, and it never fails. They always look, while you're pointing at the card, you're reading it to them as they're holding it.
Okay.
You read to them, "You recently sent in this card. Do you remember that is your signature?" "Oh, yes, yes. Well, this is on our new state-regulated life insurance program to pay your final expenses." So as you're saying that, it never fails. They are fanning through those leads, and more than likely, there's going to be a neighbor under their lead that is the next one, and they're going to see 2 or 3 people that they know in that stack. When they see those people that they know, it's a given fact that everybody wants something that somebody else wants.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see that, "Oh, I know Jimmy lives over here down at the end of the road here at the corner. Yeah, he sent a card in too." So, and then they keep fanning through as you're talking, and you just tell them, "Look, you recently mailed this card in, and you've been pre-qualified. I'm only here to physically see you and make sure that you're not terminally ill or bedridden. Now, I can see you're not bedridden." And they start laughing, right? So after I say that, I say, so look here, can you just give me a few minutes just to ask you a few health questions? I just want to make sure that you qualify for this new state-regulated final expense program. And I won't take but a few minutes of your time. At the time that you're saying that, you start doing what I call the salesman shuffle. And you just wipe your feet. I don't care if they have a front doormat or not. You just wipe your feet 3 or 4 times, and they will open the door the rest of the way and invite you in. It never fails. It's very few doors I don't get into, just using a very short intro as that. But I do believe that it makes a huge difference if you have a whole stack of leads, because then they see how much everybody else in this area is wanting this plan. And I do make it clear that, a majority of these people that have have pre-qualified for this plan are also on a fixed income, either on disability or Social Security, and they'll chime right in. I'm on disability, yes. So I do pre-qualify for this. Oh yeah. Now that I can see that you're not bedridden, you sure do. Let me just ask you a few other health questions just to make sure, because you may not even qualify for it unless I ask the health questions and make sure. And they'll let you right in every time. Never fails.
Got it. That's brilliant. Yeah, I've done that too before with like the big stack of leads. Do you have them like in a
Order.
with all the leads? Do you have like a binder clip on them?
I have, you can go to Dollar Tree and get a whole packet of the metal clips, the
Mm-hmm.
metal ones that you split apart. And I, of course, I always have them in order. So if I'm in a neighborhood, and these are usually, I don't know about where other agents live, and which I've lived in Houston before, so I know what Jimmy's going through down there. But up here, a lot of these leads that have been mailed in, oh, there's like you might have one at one house, and 4 houses down there's another one, and then
Right.
across the street there's one, and then on the next street there's another one. So I may have 5 to 7 leads that are within a block of each other, and these people are primarily elderly people. They've lived there for 30, 40 years. They know everyone on that block. So as you're telling them, you recently mailed this this card in, and you have been pre-qualified for the state regulated insurance program. As you're saying that, it never fails. I've not seen one person not do it yet. They are fanning through those one by one,
Yeah.
and they're constantly seeing people they know on their street and the next street over that they've known for 30, 40 years probably, and that makes their mind up for them right there. That, well, if Rose 4 doors down, my best friend, mailed this in, and so did Jimmy across the street, and Elmer that lives on the other end of the street, I've known him 20. They're thinking this in their mind. Well, if these people mailed it in, I've got to have it too. So
Right. I agree with you, man. I've done that before, and you're right. Every time when you hand them that stack of leads, they'll start looking through,
right.
and what it does is it validates and it adds credibility that they're not the only person that mailed the form in. So that's
and
an
and,
awesome,
and
awesome.
you want to take it away from them just one time at the
Mm-hmm.
door. You want to handle the leads, let them confer with you that is their handwriting, that is their
Mm-hmm.
signature, their phone number, their date of birth. You go through that with them, and as I'm reading the card, I will actually point at it, and I will say, now, as you can see, this is for the new state regulated life insurance program to pay your final expenses. As you're reading that, they keep pulling the page up and looking at the other people because they can't believe that their friends have mailed these in also. And I mean, they will just, if you do that salesman shuffle, they'll let you in every time. But you want to make sure that before you even start this, when they get to the door, is you want to pull your badge up and put it halfway up to their face, make sure they see it, so they see that you are official.
Got it.
And
Okay.
that, I mean, if you do that, and then you introduce yourself and do the badge and you hand those leads to them, and they will remember them. Very few don't remember doing it. Now, sometimes you'll get one that'll say, well, my daughter mailed it in, or this or that. If that's the case, then, well, success story. I was training an agent. I think he's online listening right now with us yesterday. We were there Tuesday, and this gentleman and his friend was sitting in the driveway behind the car, so I had to park on the street. We got out. We ended up standing there and talking to this guy and laughing and joking and talking about bands and the blues and everything else for about 20 minutes. Now, his wife was in the house, but it was a bad time. He had company. He set an appointment with us Tuesday for the next day, Wednesday. Well, Wednesday, his brother-in-law came. So I thought he was blowing me off, but he wasn't. He said, "How about tomorrow, Tony, at 1 o'clock?" So we went there yesterday. Um, he was he was using the restroom when we knocked on the door, so we thought he wasn't home because his wife had the car. So we go out to the car, and I'm getting my leads in order to go to the next one and talking, to my agent. And I'm telling Kurt, well, this happens sometimes. Maybe something came up. Next thing I know, he's running out the door. "Hey, wait! Don't leave! Don't leave! I knew that was you calling me, and I couldn't get to the phone. There was no toilet paper in the other bathroom. I had to go down the stairs." So ends up we go back in there. We're in there about 45 minutes to an hour. Ended up writing a $94 policy. Okay, and he the whole time all he could keep telling me and Kurt was that the Lord must have sent us there. The Lord must have sent you to me because I have been needing this so bad. Thank God you came today. And he's just an awesome guy. So we ended up making that sell, and I had to you're going to have to set appointments at the door a lot of times because, you're showing up unannounced. It may not be a good time. They may have company, but trust me, if you do that intro at the door, they're going to realize that you are official. They're going to realize that all their friends are wanting the same to enroll in the same state regulated program, and they'll set an appointment. And as of now, I think 72% of the appointments I set at doors, I'm selling right now.
That's awesome.
Now,
so Tony,
when you get done, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was going to say, well, go ahead, but we're running out of time. I want you to hit
one last thing.
The clover leaf.
That's what I was just going to say. When you walk out that door, as you're leaving and you're shaking hands with them, you're hugging them, everything else, they love you. You're your best. You are their best friend at that point. Always ask them, do you have any friends that could benefit from this state regulated program? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to come up with at least 1 or 2. If they don't let that deter you, because if you use what I call the clover leaf and you go to the house across the street and the house on both sides of that person, they're going to know them because they've lived there all their years. And you can actually ask the client as you're leaving, do you know the person across the street and next door? And you can get a little, a little synopsis about them, and they're going to tell you who they are and what they do and everything. And do you mind if I go across the street or your next door neighbors, and would you refer me to them? And you get a referral from them right then and there on just their neighbors. And I actually turned, sometimes Joe gets on me because I'm not running the leads fast enough, but I told him, look, in 1 week I had 3 referral sales, and I'm turning 1 lead a lot of times into 3 different sales, or I'm turning 15 leads into 30 just by referrals. Don't ever be afraid to ask for referrals, because people will be, you're their best friend when you leave, and they'll be more than happy to help you. That's all I have, Joe.
Absolutely, man. Awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much, man. That was a wealth of knowledge. I'm sure. I hope everyone was taking notes. Again, guys, this give me a couple of days, man. I promise you, I'll get this webinar posted onto the website so you can go back and review it and listen to it and pick up all the tips. Jimmy or Richard, anything else before we cut out of here?
Oh, I'm good, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm good, Joe. I also, actually, the only thing I did want to say is nobody really talked about times for door knocking. I usually start as early as 8:30 at my first door.
Okay.
So, and I go through it, finish all my route. And if I have more leads, then if I finish early, then I just look for more leads to go door knock. I don't call it a day.
I personally, I don't know, the seniors up here in Kentucky are a little bit more in a bad mood that early. or they sleep in later. I usually don't start that early. I start hitting. I give them time to get up, have their breakfast, coffee, and I usually hit about 10 to 11, somewhere in there.
Jimmy, how about you? What time do you start?
I think that you'll catch some people early, uh,
Right.
does it all the time, and then there's like a little lag where some people you just can't get a hold of during the day, and then you catch them again late afternoon. And I think what it is if you get there early enough, you catch them before they leave, because a lot of people will
Right.
go out on their errands, maybe go to the doctor or go do this or do.
Hmm.
Um, but so I say do both. Catch
Right.
them and then go back late afternoon. Some people will be there, some people won't, but that's why you got to keep going all day.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
The key is what we talked about. The key is showing up, man. That's 99% of it is showing up and doing the work. Well, hey guys, with that, thank you everyone for participating in the call. Thanks for our special guest speakers, Tony Riley and Richard Luna, and of course Jimmy Hernandez. And we will talk to you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.